Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Owl Talk podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Joe Palazzolo, and I'm going to take over the hosting duties for Owl Talk for the foreseeable future. I'm looking forward to using this platform to bring you the lived experiences of our brothers. And I want to hear from you about your experiences as a Sigma Pi fraternity brother. You can reach out to me on social media, or you can reach out to any of our national social media accounts to get in touch. Before we get started today, I want to introduce my special co-host for this episode. Today, we are joined by our current Grand Sage, Christian Miele. Welcome, Christian.
Past Grand Sage Palazzolo, thank you for inviting me today.
Great. The topic for today's podcast is sustained excellence in the fraternity world. In Sigma Pi fraternity, we recognize our 4 best chapters in the country with an award called the Grand Sages Cup. Each of the Grand Sages Cup winners represents the best chapter in Sigma Pi for chapters that are of a similar size and a similar structure. We give out this award at the end of each biennium. For those of you who are not aware, we track most of our major awards on a 2-year cycle to match the 2-year biennial cycle in between our convocation events. Those convocation events are where we have the national business meetings for Sigma Pi, but it's also where we elect our new grand councils, where we recognize the best among our undergraduate and alumni leaders, and where we have a very fun reunion-style atmosphere. If you've never been to a convocation, I highly recommend going, and maybe at some point in the future we'll have an episode just talking about convocation. Anyway, winning the Grand Sages Cup is not easy. Winning it twice in a row is almost unheard of. In fact, only 3 chapters in Sigma Pi's entire 127-year history have won the Grand Sages Cup 3 times in a row. And only 1 chapter has ever won it 4 times in a row. Our guest today is the president of our chapter at St. John's University in Queens, New York. They are the only chapter to win this award 4 times in a row, and we're pleased to welcome Iota-Tau Chapter Sage Gunnar Mills to the Owl Talk podcast. Welcome, Gunnar.
Joe, Christian, thank you for having me, guys.
Well, welcome, Gunnar. We're glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? What's your major? And hey, why did you join Sigma Pi?
Sure. So, again, my name is Gunnar Mills. I'm going to be a 4th year. I'm graduating early in the fall of 2024. I'm a legal studies major and a business law minor. I grew up in Astoria, Queens, so right in the heart of New York City, 5-10-minute train ride right outside of Manhattan. And I think, why did I join Sigma Pi? I was really active in high school. I was always involved in a lot of clubs and activities. So I think comparing Sigma Pi fraternity at St. John's to all the other fraternities on campus, I wanted to be a part of something that was not only bigger than myself, but I was able to give back to my community and make a difference overall.
Right. So Gunnar, this is Christian. In a practical sense, if you could kind of walk us through what it's like being the sage of a chapter that's had the sort of outstanding legacy of sustained excellence over a period of time, and then also maybe, what that pressure might feel like being the sage and feeling like you've got to keep winning the cup. I was one of those chapters that Joe mentioned that went back to back, and there was a bit of pressure on the successor sages to keep that tradition of excellence up and running. So if you could, kind of walk us through what it's like, being the leader of, an organization that, your chapter that's had so much success, and then how you kind of deal with the pressure of feeling like it's on you to keep things going.
Yeah. So I think just in terms of feeling what it's like being a president, especially of my fraternity, my chapter, it's one of the most exciting challenges I think I've ever had to take on and experience. This isn't my first term as president. This is my second. So my sophomore year, I was elected president of my chapter, and being the young guy in a room of, 25, 26 seniors, and, you got 10, 15 juniors, it's really hard making that connection because I'm so new. What does this guy know? What does he know better? And what can he improve upon the chapter? But I think buying in to the idea of, okay, what can I do to impact everybody else's life in this room? And how can I bring everybody's talent out from each other? And that's been my main mission of, I guess, continuing in this sustained excellence that we talk about, making sure that excellence is being brought out from my brothers, from my chapter, and hopefully driving that inspiration from other chapters. I started my second term as president. A lot of my older guys that I knew, a lot of, impactful people in my life, some mentors, I would say, in my life. And they're only 2, 3 years older than me. They've shown me the ropes of how to truly run this fraternity, how to make things better. And I guess understanding, again, this outstanding legacy of sustained excellence, looking back at my time so far, learning from their mistakes, learning from their experience, and then moving forward, I think being president, it takes a full circle attitude and mindset to encompass everything, especially for my chapter.
Great. What about the lessons you've learned personally being president of your chapter? I mean, you've given us some great thoughts about what it's like to lead your peers in the chapter. What about you? What lessons do you think you've learned by being the president, not just of any old fraternity chapter, but such a high performing fraternity chapter?
Yeah, I think when we think of high performing, I try to look at myself as a perfectionist. So when things fail or when mistakes happen, I get really hard on myself. I think that's natural for a lot of people who want to be leaders and who want to make a difference. I'm super hard on myself. I want to make sure I'm doing the right things, not only for myself, but I want to make everybody's experience in Sigma Pi great. Regardless of mine, I can maybe have the worst experience. It could be a really bad day, but as long as I made everybody else in the room have a great day, had a great week, that what motivates me. So I'd say one of the things that I've learned as being president, that it's okay to make mistakes. Things happen. It's how we, bounce back from those mistakes. It's how we improve and we learn from those lessons. That's what's going to make the difference overall. Not even just being in Sigma Pi, but in our school, in our careers, in our future lives ahead, learning to grow from those failures and just improve upon ourselves. And I think another thing too is accepting help. When I was younger, I never really liked group projects. I always, liked to do things on my own. I knew I could do it, my way. And sometimes I think my way might be the right way. That's not always the case, right? So accepting help, learning how to delegate work, whether it's chair positions or whether it's setting up different types of philanthropy initiatives. Sometimes I may think I know the right way to do things. And then I have, my VP, my secretary, my Sarge, or, a couple of chairmen in my chapter be like, hey, Gunnar, let's slow it down now. I think we got to be attacking it this way. So accepting help, learning to utilize the abilities of others, because my chapter produces a lot of great work, and I wouldn't be even half the president I am without those guys supporting me and putting their best foot forward.
I just want to point out, I love your comment about maybe it's not your best day, but if it was the best day for your brothers and you were able to facilitate that, that's a lesson you've learned about leadership. What a great way to talk about the challenge of leadership. We often think about being a leader means that you're out front, and if you're out front, you must be having the greatest time of your life or the greatest moment of your life.
Yeah.
But oftentimes there's a struggle there. There's a real challenge there. And the fact that already in your leadership career, you recognize that even though you're having a bummer of a day, if you made everyone else in the chapter have a great day, and if the chapter experienced great success from the work that you put in, that is success. Tremendous. Good for you for coming to that realization already.
Thank you, Joe.
And so, Gunnar, coming off of, you know, the high of, winning the fourth consecutive Grand Sages Award in Indianapolis at our last convocation, what does the future sort of look like now that you've kind of reached that mountaintop, done something that no other chapter has done in our history? And, I guess one of the things I really love about fraternity work, whether it's volunteerism or if you're a professional staff member, um, or doing something in the industry, it's like there's always room for improvement. There's always a way to strengthen the brotherhood. There's always some aspect of a chapter that we can improve upon. So if there was something that you thought that your chapter could improve upon and strengthen going forward, or what does the future look like? What are some of those things to you?
Sure. So I think just like looking at the future of my chapter, you even said it yourself. I remember we were in Indianapolis. I'm even wearing my Indianapolis Convo polo right now. And I'm thinking, I'm sitting there, I'm stressed out at dinner. Joe's looking around, overseeing anybody. I know he sees me sweating in the crowd. Christian's, smiling, he's laughing. He's like, "Oh, you're going to do it. I don't know, maybe." And I'm like, "Guys, please, like, I can't." I got, older guys texting me like, "Yo, Gunnar, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up." So I guess like the future of my chapter is going to be celebrating 10 years as a chapter. We're working on a really big banquet. We're working on, setting up a couple of things before, my class, my pledge class in 2022 graduates. And when I graduate next fall, this coming fall, I want to really improve our alumni engagement and expand upon that heavily. I think one of the big things that I learned when I was in Indianapolis was how many awesome alumni clubs we have, and how specifically shout out Monmouth's alumni club, not shameless plug, Joe, but you know, you guys are killing it in that aspect. The amount of support you get from your alumni. And I think that just shows based on the testament of time and how we can engage with our alumni, engage with our brothers, show them this is what's going on in our chapter. How can you continue to be a part of it? Because it's not just 4 years or a college career, it's for life, Sigma Pi. So I want to really improve upon our alumni engagement, set up a really strong alumni club. And then moving upon that, so we got this banquet coming up. So in the process, we're working on setting up a scholarship fund. So I'm looking to put up a great amount of proceeds and donations to set up the scholarship fund for our guys. So alumni engagement's one, and then setting up that scholarship fund for future brothers. We got Rush coming up in the fall. An even bigger rush comes in the spring for St. John's. And I think that's a really big motivation to build upon so much greatness we have now. How can we even be better? We grabbed, all right, great. We got the fourth Grand Sage Cup. How can we get the fifth? We celebrated for that, week. We were ecstatic. And it was like after that, we were talking with Yugi, my chapter advisor, and we were like, so how can we even be better, guys? I'm happy you're excited. Let's get even more excited for this next biennium. Let's get excited for this next convocation.
On behalf of the Delta Beta brothers who have played runner-up to Iota-Tau for the last few bienniums, Gunnar, thank you for the shout out on our alumni club. We appreciate it. I have to just make a comment here because you mentioned the banquet where I was looking around and Christian was saying, "Hey, could it happen?" Our CEO John Frost and our now past Grand Sage Kent Varney, they allowed me to help create some of the scripts that were read during the banquet. They also helped me. They allowed me to figure out which awards would be given out at which point, and there's a reason why your award was given out last, because we knew that you all were going to win, but you all didn't know that. And I guess it's a good place to mention that going into this convocation in Indianapolis, both St. John's and our chapter at Oregon were tied, having won this award 3 bienniums in a row. So you both could have broken the record that was set about 20 years ago by the College of New Jersey, our Theta Delta chapter. And so we had the Oregon announcement first, because again, we knew that Penn State had actually beat them out this time.
Yeah.
And so the tension was going to build. And John Frost and Kent Varney allowed me to actually write the words that John was going to speak when he was announcing your award. And if you remember, Gunnar,
very similar words.
Very similar with your accomplishments and Delta Beta's accomplishments. Everything even down to, I think it was the IFC Unsung Hero Award.
Yeah, that was a shocker, like parallels,
Which is interesting because that's an award that's not really widespread around the country. So I was watching both you guys and my Monmouth guys, and I think when that part of the script was spoken, I think both of you thought, "Oh my gosh, this could be us."
That sounds like torture, Joe.
Well,
it was torture, Christian. It was
torture for them, entertaining for us.
No, speaking of entertaining, at convocation, I was really, I would say, moved by. I wouldn't call it unlikely. We're all brothers here, right? No matter what chapter you come from, but it was really fun to watch the way Gunnar, your chapter, sort of got really close with the brothers from our University of Arkansas chapter, which also happened to win the Grand Sages Award for their respective tier. But just to see how you guys were able to, I guess, I don't know, share in that moment, but in all the moments leading up to it, being contenders and then, being from different parts of the country. And that, to me, that just struck me as kind of a beautiful thing to see, Sigma Pi brothers, being as close as they are, regardless of where they come from. And that's just part of what makes our fraternity so great. So I didn't know if you wanted to comment on how that all came to pass, where you
Yeah,
guys just got so tight over such a short span of days.
yeah, it was super cool. I mean, shout out to the Arkansas boys. I mean, I would have never thought, Queens kid coming from New York, you know, getting super close with guys from Arkansas. We were all cracking the same jokes. And we were talking about it on the plane ride back. We were all in the airport hanging out when we were on the way back home. And we were like, who would have thought? Like, we're going to these workshops, Sigma Pi brought us together, guys on, opposite ends, and we're all getting along over the same things, making the same jokes, making the same bonds. It was really, really great thing to be a part of. And I'm looking forward in November. I'm actually going to be planning on visiting, going to a couple football games out there, hanging out with those guys. So my guys at St. John's, super, super great appreciation for the guys at Arkansas. They were giving me a lot of great advice, a lot of great tips, because New York fraternity life and Southern fraternity life in general, East and South, two different opposite ends of the spectrum, I'd say. You're looking at bigger schools. St. John's is a mid-sized school. Arkansas, you hear so much cool stuff about Arkansas, whether it's the sports, the football, the social life, just the amount of pride people have for their southern schools, for schools like Arkansas. It was really nice to see that and get their input. So thanks for bringing that up, Christian.
Two worlds apart. Two worlds apart. The fraternity life in New York versus fraternity life down south. But again, this is why I encourage everyone to try to get to convocation, particularly if you're an undergraduate. You have what a great opportunity you have to network.
100%. I really fought, sorry to interrupt, Joe. I fought tooth and nail to make sure all of my guys on my executive council could really make sure that they were here for this event. Regardless if we won, regardless if we lost, I knew when I became president my sophomore year, I knew I had convocation coming up. And I really didn't understand what convocation was. I just knew all Sigma Pi came together, kumbaya, and we all hung out. But it's more than that, It's an opportunity to network beyond our scope of the present right now, where we are in our lives, and come together for something that unites us in such a beautiful way. So when I was able to I only had one guy missing on my executive council who couldn't come, my treasurer. But even still, he really tried to get there, and all my other guys, we had a blast. So if you're thinking about convocation and that's coming up, it's going to come up quicker than you realize. I definitely recommend you get a chance to go. Ask your schools for the funding. Look to your chapters. Look to your chapter advisors. Raise money. There's so many great ways, and in general, Sigma Pi that can support you to get to where you want to be, especially with convocation. So.
And when you go to convocation in 2026, you can meet Gunnar and hang out with the guys, because I'm sure they'll be coming back and enjoying our brotherhood once again. But let's talk about you for a moment, Gunnar. What about you? I know you're getting ready to graduate. What are your personal goals in life? What do you want to do after you graduate?
Sure. So after I graduate, right now I'm in the process of applying for law schools. So I'm getting ready. I'm doing all my LSAT study and getting all my applications together, letters of rec, essays, a lot of reading and writing. So that's a blessing and a curse, something that I like to do, but sometimes can be a pain. But I'm looking to apply to law schools. I'll have an idea of where I'm going to be heading in the spring. Currently, right now, I've been working almost close to a year at a personal injury, workers' compensation, and estate planning firm. So I'm having a really great experience there. I'm learning a lot of tools. I'm getting to meet a lot of different people that I wouldn't meet on a daily basis. That'll help better equip me to understand the legal profession a lot better. And I think just after I graduate, I'm a first generation college student. Nobody in my family went to college. Nobody in my family ever intended on going to law school. So going to law school, I know I'm gonna, but hopefully I plan on, passing the bar, becoming an attorney in New York, getting my license in a couple other states, and just really impacting the world however I can, and just making a positive difference, and making my parents proud, making, their parents proud, and just doing what I can.
So, Gunnar, do you have any maybe perhaps parting words for our brothers and our listeners today?
Sure. I think it's super simple. Just be the best Sigma Pi brother you can be. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of effort, doesn't take a lot of work. You join Sigma Pi for a reason. Whether your reasons are different than everybody else, that's for you to decide, right? I joined Sigma Pi for a different reason compared to a lot of other guys in my chapter, but I think the main thing is we're here now. How can we support one another? How can we be the best brother we can be for one another? Simple tasks, simple things of just, hey, you want to go to the gym? Let's get food. Let's go to the movies. Even if we're just, doing work together, getting ready to, plan an event, for our chapter. Little conversations like that, they really go a long way. Checking in with your brothers. I try to implore with my guys. Sometimes it goes often overlooked rather, of how important this brotherhood truly is. It's more than just being in college. It's more than just being in a college fraternity. These friendships that I've made have truly changed who I am as a person for the better. It's made me a better person. It's made me become more selfless. It's made me become more aware of who I am and who I want to become. So when Rush approaches, another good piece of advice, show why you joined Sigma Pi to these new upcoming freshmen, the sophomores that you have class with, even maybe juniors that are thinking about being a member of Sigma Pi. Show them, invite them, make sure that they feel welcomed, and it doesn't have to be a fake thing that you're doing. Really dig deep into the bottom of your heart and understand that this is your fraternity. This is what you make of it. What you put in is what you're going to get out. And the same thing goes in all parts of your life. So I guess be the best Sigma Pi brother you can be. Enjoy your time in Sigma Pi and have a great time. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Gunnar. You are telling the story of Sigma Pi,
I'm
and
trying.
we appreciate it. And before we wrap up, also a quick thank you to my co-host, Grand Sage Christian Miele. Christian, do you have any parting thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just super encouraged by what we just, our conversation with Gunnar. He gets it. It reminds me of Joe. Joe and I were sages together over, I hate to say over 20 years ago, but it's been over 20 years now. We're getting old. But, we had that same transformational experience, and we took every opportunity that was afforded us, and that's why we still continue to give back, because it had such an incredible impact on our lives. I'm just heartened and I'm encouraged by Gunnar's success story, the success story of his chapter, and it just gives me great hope that Sigma Pi will continue to be the driving force for making men's lives better as they move their way through college and into the beyond, what's after that. So, Gunnar, thanks for joining us again. It's been great watching your journey, and we know, just because you're getting ready to graduate, your Sigma Pi journey is, not coming to an end, but to a new beginning. And we look forward to everything that you're going to contribute to our great fraternity for the rest of your life. So we're very excited about that.
Thank you. Like you said, it's only the beginning. It's only up from here. Really excited to get to work and really grow Sigma Pi.
Thank you, Gunnar. Thank you, Christian. And thank you to everyone who listened to today's podcast about sustained excellence. For the latest on what's going on in the world of Sigma Pi fraternity, follow us across the socials. We are at Sigma Pi, all one word, on all the major platforms. On YouTube, we're at Sigma Pi fraternity, all one word. And you can check out some pretty awesome videos on our YouTube account. Thanks again, everyone, and we hope you join us for the next Owl Talk podcast.